Well, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on.
Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
Well, here's the deal. When you've got nothing meaningful to contribute, you just keep talking. Endlessly. It's a non-stop, never-ending stream of words. The voters don't support the women on The View. They're disconnected from the vast majority of Americans. And honestly, they should consider getting their message from iMedia. Whoopi Goldberg held control over The View for years, sitting at the top, cutting off guests, dismissing opposing views, and presenting her opinions as undeniable truths. But in one surprising moment, her stronghold over daytime TV began to unravel, and it was all thanks to Karoline Leavitt. Nobody saw it coming. The episode kicked off just like any other. Smug laughs, eye rolls, and the usual panel of heads nodding along, all moving in perfect harmony with the show's left-leaning agenda.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
Whoopi, as self-assured as ever, settled back, ready to take control, and had another conversation. Then the topic of wokeness came up, a term that The View practically reveres. A concept they defend like it's the foundation of their very existence because, honestly, it kind of is. Feeling confident, Whoopi took the first shot, her trademark smirk making its appearance. She pointed at Karoline and boldly proclaimed, "Without wokeness, you wouldn't even have this job." And just like that, the whole vibe in the room changed instantly. The audience tensed up, even Joy Behar, who built an entire career on challenging conservatives, shifted uncomfortably in her chair.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time.
That was so good.
What Whoopi says next is exactly what you'd expect. Predictable and somewhat frustrating. After all these years as a host, you'd think she'd have a bit more creativity in her banter. But here we are. Let's see what she has for us this time.
In a statement afterwards, this young lady claimed her, quote, on-air snub proves that you-know-who will not be treated fairly in the upcoming debate. Now, do you think this is going to make people doubt whether CNN can stay objective, or is this more the same of, everybody's against me, it's all rigged, I tell you. Is everything rigged?
No, it's their MO. That's what they do. Rachel Maddow said last week, she's like, if the election is lost, it was rigged. If there's a debate, then the moderators are probably biased and they're prejudiced against.
The atmosphere was charged with tension as everyone braced themselves for what was coming next. Let's just say Whoopi wasn't prepared for the response she was about to get. This wasn't just a simple disagreement or playful back and forth. It was Whoopi Goldberg questioning Karoline Leavitt's entire career, her intelligence, and her work ethic, dismissing everything she had worked for as merely a result of the very ideology she opposed. It was condescending and dismissive, designed to undermine her completely. Yet, despite the obvious insult, the audience clapped, almost on autopilot, with some even chuckling. But there was an undeniable tension in the air, a subtle unease that suggested they knew Whoopi had crossed a line, but weren't sure how to acknowledge it. Karoline didn't flinch. She didn't stumble or search for an escape. She didn't rush to defend herself or scramble for a snappy comeback. No, she did something far more powerful. She smiled, slow and knowing. A smile that said, "You just made a big mistake." It wasn't cocky or overconfident. It was the smile of someone who knew they had the facts, the evidence, and the composure to turn the situation around. And with calm that was almost unnerving, she did exactly that. This was something the audience had never witnessed before. If you're enjoying this intense moment, make sure to like and subscribe, because we're about to dig even deeper. Karoline began with hard facts, cold, undeniable numbers that couldn't be dismissed with a sarcastic remark or wave of the hand. She detailed government spending reports, showing exactly how taxpayer dollars were being used in various programs, including gender studies in Guatemala and Sesame Street adaptations designed to export American social activism globally. She presented countless other initiatives that raised far more questions than answers. With precision, she connected the dots, revealing how wokeness had shifted from a social movement into a political tool, one used to silence, control, and punish anyone who dared to challenge it. And Whoopi? She wasn't laughing anymore.
Most divisive and disgusting speech that any president, certainly in my lifetime, has ever given. He essentially waged war on half of the country by saying that we are all a threat to democracy because we believe in putting America first. It's not radical to want to put your country and your own people first. It's not radical to want to have a strong border, a strong military, and to unleash the might of your own economy, not economies around the world.
She's incredibly articulate, isn't she? It's surprising that the hosts on The View chose to mock her instead of supporting another woman. It really does reveal a lot about their underlying stance. Let's see how this plays out. I'm sure Karoline is about to present more undeniable truths that will be difficult for them to overlook.
You know, we have seen cultural Marxism trickling its way through every institution in this country. The public school system, the higher education university system, Hollywood, big tech, the corrupt mainstream media that I fought against in President Trump's White House are indoctrinating my generation of Americans into hating our country, hating one another based on race and gender and all of this other BS, quite frankly.
The woman who had built her career on dominating conversations, shutting down opposing voices, and pushing through uncomfortable topics was suddenly on the defensive. Whoopi shifted in her seat, the usual smirk gone, her hands moving as if searching for something to hold onto. She was accustomed to guests fumbling their words, struggling to keep up with her quick-fire comebacks, but this time, the tables had turned. No matter how much she might have wanted to regain control, Karoline wasn't giving her the opportunity. For the first time in ages, it was clear to everyone watching that Whoopi Goldberg had backed herself into a corner, and there was no easy way out. She opened her mouth, then shut it, opened it again, but still, no words came. The audience, usually so quick to back her up with cheers, sat frozen in an uncomfortable silence. Even the most loyal fans of The View didn't know how to react. The energy in the room had shifted, and for once, no one knew whether they should laugh, clap, or just wait for Whoopi to say something, anything, to regain control. Even the camera crew hesitated, unsure whether to zoom in on Whoopi's stunned expression, capturing the moment she realized she had trapped herself, or cut to commercial and hoped the viewers wouldn't notice. Whoopi, who was usually so quick with a sharp remark or dismissive gesture, sat stiffly in her chair, clearly wishing she could disappear into it. She had walked straight into a trap, and there was no easy way out. And here's the real question that Karoline had exposed. If wokeness is truly about diversity and inclusion, why is it that conservative women are the ones being attacked? Why is it that those who preach tolerance turn hostile when confronted with someone who doesn't align with their ideology? In that moment, Whoopi Goldberg realized she had no comeback, no sharp retort, and no witty remark to turn the situation around. The silence dragged on, and everyone felt it, desperately waiting for something to shift. Joy Behar jumped in, trying to make a nervous joke in a last-ditch attempt to break the tension, but the damage had already been done. Whoopi had done something even she had never done before. She had completely unraveled on live television.
Well, you know, listen, if you don't have anything to say, you blab. You just go on and 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 on. Right. That's what you hear. Yeah. When they don't have anything to hold you with, nothing to make you think about what they have to say, they talk at you, not to you. And that's what she was doing. And she was doing it, and it's not new.
No.
But everybody's hip to you all now.
Yeah.
And we are anticipating that you are not prepared. Because you keep saying you going and you preparing when you're on the trail.
It's difficult to watch right now. The way her arguments come across feels overly simplistic and dismissive. Especially when faced with facts she struggles to rebut. It makes you question how someone like her continues to hold such a prominent platform and following. It's frustrating to see someone who seems to lack substance still maintaining such a strong presence. Maybe it's because she's been ingrained in daytime TV culture for so long, but at this point, you'd think she would have been replaced by someone who could bring more thoughtful discussion to the table. It's perplexing.
That you saw live on this program yesterday. Joy Behar stirring the pot of controversy after saying this about Karoline.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
Do you want to take this?
No, you cannot be attractive and smart. I will try to give Joy the benefit, and oh, thank you. I try to give Joy the benefit of the doubt that she didn't see that briefing. Because if you saw that yesterday on numerous topics, no big binder, I think she might have had a different impression of this young woman who held her own.
And the internet. Oh, the internet absolutely exploded with memes and reactions. Clips and endless commentary were all over social media within minutes. Whoopi's stunned reaction was replayed on loop. But here's where things get even more intense. This wasn't the first time Whoopi had found herself in trouble with her words. Over the years, she's turned The View into a controversy factory, drawing ABC from one issue to the next. From tone-deaf comments about the Holocaust to her questionable defenses of certain figures. Whoopi's been at the center of some of the most talked-about moments the show has ever had, but nothing hit ABC harder than the recent wave of defamation lawsuits. First, it was Carrie Underwood, then Elon Musk, and now Karoline Leavitt. Each lawsuit adding up, making it harder for ABC to ignore the consequences of Whoopi's unchecked commentary. And the worst part. This time, Whoopi couldn't point the finger at anyone else. She had no one to blame but herself. Let's talk about Carrie Underwood. When Carrie performed at Trump's second inauguration, Whoopi and her co-hosts criticized her harshly. They didn't just critique her performance. They went after her personally, mocking her and even suggesting she had ruined her career and aligned herself with hate. The whole segment felt like a character assassination, and they seemed to expect Carrie to just take it. But Carrie did something no one saw coming. Instead of issuing a vague statement or a tweet, she filed a $1 billion defamation lawsuit against The View. When that case eventually made it to court, something explosive came to light. Something no one, not even Whoopi, had been prepared for.
I mean, you would have to give her the benefit of the doubt that she did absolutely no research or reading about anything dealing with Karoline Leavitt before she made that remark. Because Karoline Leavitt she went to St. Anselm College. She worked for WMUR
Ran
TV.
for Congress?
In New Hampshire, she ran for Congress at the age of 25. Put out a very good campaign.
It's refreshing to see someone break free from the usual narratives. Watching someone confidently stand their ground with facts feels like a win. Especially when the typical voices begin to unravel. It's satisfying to hear a different perspective, one that isn't bound by the usual agenda.
Then she goes out yesterday and gives and this is speaking very objectively, because I've watched every press secretary since going back to Marlon Fitzwater. Yeah, I'm that old. And she went out there for her very first briefing at the age of 27 years old, the youngest press secretary ever, and did a terrific job.
Karoline's accomplishments are impressive, and it's great to see her gaining recognition. On the other hand, Whoopi's recent contributions are harder to define. While she had a strong start in acting, her more recent presence seems to center around stirring controversy rather than fostering meaningful dialogue. Her role on The View feels more about tenure than adding real value. It's difficult to point to anything substantial she's done in recent time.
Saying something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Yeah.
Because women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation.
Leaked emails revealed that ABC had intentionally orchestrated the attack on Carrie Underwood to boost ratings. It wasn't an accidental slip. It was a calculated attempt to stir controversy, generate outrage, and keep The View trending. When the truth emerged, the industry was shaken. ABC executives went into full damage control, ultimately settling for a large, undisclosed amount behind the scenes. Rumors began to circulate about whether The View was even worth the trouble anymore. But just when they thought the storm had passed, Elon Musk happened. Whoopi and the hosts spent months portraying Musk as a dangerous figure and spreading false claims about Twitter's policies under his ownership. Musk wasn't going to let that slide. He sued, and The View found itself in crisis mode again. Advertisers who had once been loyal to the show began pulling back, tired of the constant scandals, and the show's reputation as a ratings goldmine started to fade. Big-name sponsors began questioning whether it was still worth the risk, especially as the lawsuits continued to accumulate. The cracks in The View grew more visible, and the once unstoppable force led by Whoopi Goldberg was now faltering. With 3 lawsuits and advertisers jumping ship, the network found itself in full panic mode. The View was no longer the asset it once was, and ABC couldn't stop the downward spiral.